Now let's do a little bit more work on this design. I'm going to open up this window a little bit and focus on the plan. Let's go into this area of the plan right here. You'll notice from the previous exercise we roughly put the spaces where we thought they would make the most sense. So now we can actually start moving them around. I'm going to unlock the space areas so I can actually stretch the size of them if I wanted to. But so for example, I can start to move them, and we're still sketching. We're not resolving the walls or anything. We're just trying to see if roughly if this plan makes sense. And we would recommend not spending a lot of time worrying about the alignment of spaces and everything. It's like sketching on paper, but we're using the actual data that the owner's requirements came in at. Um, so here we'll put these spaces here, and maybe we'll decide to leave a little area down here. Move that into position there, and you kind of get the sense of how this could work. So this shower, maybe we'll actually say that this goes down here. So you start to see patterns and potential arrangement of spaces and how this building might take shape, and you see opportunities for obviously we're just looking at the program requirements. We haven't done any kind of real design yet with the building, and we'll notice things like this that obviously have to be resolved. But also this building does not yet have all of the support spaces that are needed. These are strictly the program requirements of the owner, and then we've added a hallway and a front lobby that might start looking a little bit different. So for example, if we want to bump this out and make it look like that, we might decide to make this shaped like that and bring out the hallway to here. And if we want to get very specific about dimensions even, we can get into this hallway and say that we really want this hallway to be 8 feet. So you can get as detailed as you want. The recommendation is to keep it pretty high level at this point, and just to rapidly lay out space and even add new spaces that you think might be needed. So for example, we could decide at this level here that we want to add another space. You add another space right here. Move it into position, double click it, and we'll call this waiting room 2, and we'll call this room number 105, so it has a room number as well. You'll see that it defaults at 300 square feet, but even this space too, you can stretch the size of it to whatever you want. So if we grab this edge here and say, well, this really needs to be a smaller waiting room like that, something like that. All right, so with that, you can kind of see that we've started to resolve, and maybe we're going to have another hallway down here. In fact, we can even bump this and say, let's actually make this part of the waiting room hallway area here. The testing room there, and maybe we can move this, start tightening up on the layout. And even looking at the shape of the building, we can say, okay, we're seeing that there's some pattern evolving about how the slab that's currently a rectangle, we might unlock that, double click it, open it up, and start to shape the outer part of the building as well. So we might actually do this and decide that, well, really we want to ultimately figure out how we can tighten this area up here. And maybe these have to go on this side of the building, for example. Rotate that. Maybe even let's tighten up this area here. So all of these edits, you'll notice that the furniture inside the rooms, this is what came from the client requirements. They've actually had templates created that are prototypical layouts. We can actually go inside the room and start moving the furniture around. I've just left it at default for now. Or we can wait till we export it to other BIM applications like Revit where we can continue on with more detailed design. The furniture in Revit will actually show up as full-blown. If they're in the families in Revit, they'll show up with the geometries and more detail attached to them. So there's a lot more opportunities to actually continue on with the design work that started as a program here into Revit and complete the design based on the client's request. But at this stage, we're generating a very quick analysis, cost estimate, shape, does it fit on the site? Do we want to keep it on one floor? Do we want to do it 2 floors? Do we have the right type of circulation going? What does our cost look like? How does our uh, square footage with departments look like? So I'm doing a report based on departments. So you can kind of see if I sort it by department, it actually breaks it down that how much per square foot per each department, and also the new spaces that we added. The hallway, for example, we've added 1,023 net square feet, so we have a 9,800 square foot building. And if we go back to the cost report, we can actually see that the estimate is starting to adjust as well with these new additions, and a lot of other things are happening here. And then if we go to 3D, flies into the site, and there we see the building and the new shape, and there we go. There's the shape, the hallway that we created. Click on the hallway and you can see how many square feet that is. We haven't assigned people to spaces yet, that's why it's showing up as 0, but we can continue to refine this. But within a few minutes we actually have a first version of this. Now I can duplicate it and create a version 3 and a version 4 if I'd like from this design. It's also possible to edit the actual prototypical room that the client gave us. So for example, this room is a specific size, but if we have the area unlocked, I might decide to actually bump this out right here. For whatever reason, maybe we want to put another piece of equipment in there that the owner is asking for, so we've changed that. The last thing we'd like to do is actually compare our design to the initial program requirements. So I'm going to go up here, and it's called a building comparison. If I open up the report, I can create set up a comparison. And I'm going to create a new comparison. It says, what do you want to compare your project to? I'm going to compare it to the owner request project, which is right here on the pull down, which scheme. There's a building inside that's called program requirements, and I'm going to compare space areas. I can compare a lot of other things. I can start comparing, do we match all their other floor finishes, etc. And we can even say ignore spaces moving across floors if we start moving it to the second floor. So we're going to add this to the list. And now we have a new comparison called clinic program requirements. And if we create a comparison now, we can actually see that all of our spaces are exactly the same. We haven't changed it. The current building, our current design is here. The required building is here. The difference is 0% because we haven't touched it. We've adjusted slightly the outpatient respiratory treatment room, which we just did, so bumped up by 16%. And the 4 spaces that we added, the hallway and the storage rooms and the waiting room, so we're at a delta of 46% based on the new gross areas that we've added as well. So this is a very quick way of creating a report like this. If we look at the plan as well, it's also color coding the plan with the same color coding. So blue means that it's a brand new space. Light green, we're at 10% difference. We're over by 10% on this particular room. So this is a graphical view of comparison to the original requirement.